Hey, everyone. I'm Becca, he's Matt, and this is Becca's Book Club Adventure.
If any of our listeners have any opinions on wool socks, I would love to hear them because this is the first time being teased about wool socks. So if you would like to join the conversation about wool socks or Dave Matthews Band or mushrooms or pipe leaks or hell, maybe even a book, you can feel free to leave us a comment. You could give us a review. You could send us an email. We are bookclubbybecca@gmail.com. Or you could reach us on Instagram at Becca's Book Club Adventure. Hopefully we hear from you about books or other things. I'm game to make some friends.
Is that how we make friends on the internet now?
I think so. Okay, I think it's story time. So what happened in part 3?
We are in for a saga, so we're going to open up on a fishing boat manned by a shark shifter crew. For funsies, Ethan and Hypaxia sail to Avalon and reclaim Sophie's body. They quickly discover that Sophie's body is no more and that Bryce and company now rule Avalon.
So instead, they essentially turn right back around and head back to Crescent City to create an antidote to the Asteres parasite that infects the water because Bryce was like, please.
And of course, Hypaxia finds a temporary antidote really quickly and makes Ethan test it on himself. And it works.
After blacking out, he wakes up and is like super wolf, right? Enhanced senses, enhanced strength, enhanced shifting speed. Oh, and he now has elemental magic and can control snow or ice or whatever.
Sounds lovely. I would make it snow right now if I could. With this change, Ethan is determined to go to the den and inform them of the truth. Despite Jessica telling him not to, goes anyway. And he comes back as the Prime.
While Ethan is in the middle of explaining the truth to the den, Sabine appears with the astronomer and Sigrid. Sabine defames Ethan because that's what we do, and declares Sigrid as her heir. As
Heir?
It's heir, but like I think the British pronounce it hair. I've listened to too much stuff on social media. Sigrid is now next in line, which pisses Emily off. But the Prime appears and decides to back up everything Ethan had said and names Ethan as his heir.
And Sabine freaks out and kills her father. And then Sigrid proceeds to eat his soul. And then she decides she's not done, so she whips around and gets the astronomer as Sabine attacks Ethan. But Ethan's newfound abilities overwhelm Sabine, and he ends her. Sigrid disappears, but Ethan is declared Prime of the Valbrand Wolves.
Maybe something that we should have mentioned, in case you have forgotten from part 2. Sigrid is a Reaper, hence the soul eating. Meanwhile, Bryce and co. split up to begin a quest to save the world, because, yeah, that's Bryce.
While Byaxin stays and assumes control of Avalon, Bryce and her parents and Hunt head up to the Arctic Circle to open up the Northern Rift for help. But instead, they open a portal to Perinthian, where Bryce negotiates with Nesta.
Nesta gives Bryce the mask. And in return, as collateral, Bryce gives Nesta her parents. And the plan is to, do another swapsies, when the world is saved and Bryce no longer needs the mask.
And as the portal closes, the Harpy comes out of the snow, and then Isaiah, Naomi, and Celestina arrive. So the Harpy popping out, it gave me massive Disney Mulan vibes.
Yes. It did. Me too. All she needed to do was grab a doll on the snow. Okay, so caught between so many enemies, Bryce ad-libs and puts on the mask. And because she can now command death or whatever, she simply asks the Harpy to die. And the Harpy does.
Hunt becomes enraged by the betrayal of Celestina and blasts through his halo and Isaiah's halo, and then proceeds to attack Celestina. Bryce manages to talk him down because her plans need Isaiah, Naomi, and Celestina to succeed.
After placating Hunt, Bryce opens the rift to hell and welcomes Prince Adis back to Midgard.
Under the Istros, Therion and Sathia are granted a contentious audience with the River Queen.
Despite being interrupted by the River Queen's daughter's tearful tantrum, that's a mouthful, Therion is somehow able to prove himself and his good intentions, which means that the Blue Court will begin offering asylum for the citizens of Crescent City.
Across the river in the sewers of Crescent City, Rune, Lydia, Declan, and Flynn pursue a pointless search for Isaiah and Naomi. As they're figuring out a new plan, Lydia gets word from the depth charger. Pollux has taken her sons.
All right, so new Wolf Prime Ethan and Hypaxia use death marks to sail to a meeting with the Underking because Ethan is kind of sort of a whiny crybaby. He needs to see his dead brother. But the trip doesn't exactly go as planned.
When the Underking cuts off the Ethan meeting with Connor, Ethan becomes enraged and uses his snow to freeze the Underking solid. Then Hypaxia smashes him into 1,000 bits. And Jessica shows up and goes, "Congratulations, Hypaxia. You are now the head of House in Flame and Shadow."
Yep. And if you didn't think that was enough, in the aftermath of that, Connor decides to give Ethan a bullet made of death marks that contains the second light of all the souls in the Bone Quarter, and instructs instructs Ethan to get that bullet and the Godslayer rifle to Bryce.
Not even halfway through the park, in the Eternal City, Rune, Lydia, Declan, Flynn, Bryce, and Hunt are ready to unleash hell. Quite literally.
They broadcast a video to all of Pangea exposing the truth about the Asteri before they break into the palace, while Flynn and Declan run remote interference and plan the getaway.
Once inside, Hunt and Bryce head to the throne room where Bryce puts on the masks and raises the fallen. Regulus appears just as the armies of hell begin their attack outside of the city.
Rather than confront Regulus, Bryce teleports herself and Hunt to the front lines of the battle, where Bryce ends up taking out one of the other Asteri using the Star Sword and Dagger as Adis, Apollyon, and Thanatos engage the other remaining Asteri minus Regulus in battle.
As Therion swims for the Asteri's palace, Rune and Lydia frantically search for her sons. After locating them under the palace where the First Light Core is, Rune calls Bryce and Hunt for backup as he faces down Pollux.
Therion runs into Lydia and gives her one of the antidotes, which she takes. They creep towards Pollux and her sons, and she unleashes Agent Daybright upon him. An unceasing, alive inferno of flame. It's so cool! And she easily incinerates Pollux.
Like that. Her sons safe and Pollux dead, Lydia runs off into the battlefield, where she is joined by the fire sprites, and together they begin to burn it all down.
Therion gives Rune the last of the antidotes, which unlocks healing powers. Rune has healing powers now. And he's able to save the shot and dying Therion. Yeah, Therion got shot, by the way. On their way out of the palace, they meet Ethan as he's sprinting into the palace, frantically trying to get to Bryce with the second light bullet and the Godslayer rifle.
Near the First Light Core, Bryce and Hunt run into Regulus, and the three begin to dance. Bryce teleports with Hunt from spot to spot so Regulus can't hurt them, and Hunt sends lightning at the first core each time they teleport.
Bryce eventually gets tired and teleports them away completely. And wouldn't you know it, they teleport right into where Ethan is, and he hands over the Godslayer rifle on the second light bullet. And so Bryce, alone, decides to head back to Regulus and the other three remaining Asteria.
The Asteria inform her that destroying the core will also destroy Midgard itself. Always quick on her feet, Bryce fires the bullet into the core and uses the horn to open up the portal to outer space and the black hole, sending the core and the Asteri through it before being sucked in herself by the imploding palace.
Aided by Adis and Apollyon, Hunt jumps into a mech suit, which happens to also contain the soul of Shahar, puts on the mask that Bryce gave him for safekeeping, and pulls a Fast and Furious 9 move and jumps into the portal and brings Bryce back from outer space. But she's frozen and very much not alive anymore.
Thank heavens, Hypaxia is on the scene along with Jessica. In a very Dumbledore, Harry Potter on the platform 9 3/4 move, Jessica trades her life and immortality to save Bryce and bring her back from Midgard.
All right, so the Asteri may be gone and Midgard saved, but in the aftermath, the pieces need to be picked up and the loose ends need to be tied off.
Hypaxia and Celestina begin to make inroads with their relationship once again.
Bryce and Hunt retrieve her parents and give the mask back to Nesta and ask Cassian to give Azriel Truth Teller back. And Bryce gives Nesta the Star Sword.
Lydia reunites with her sons and their dads in a loving, heartfelt goodbye that also points towards a future between sons and mother.
The armies of hell march back to hell. Yeah, I read that right. The armies of hell march back to hell through the Northern Rift, leaving Midgard completely, and Bryce seals the rift for good.
Therion goes to the meat market in search of Sathya, but meets Adrian instead and gives us an interesting cliffhanger.
Bryce formally and legally announces the dissolution of all Fae royalty and donates their residences and money to help rebuild Asphodel Meadows and house the displaced humans.
Lydia and Rune move into an apartment below Bryce, complete with a guest room for her sons to visit, and vow to figure out how to have a normal life together.
Hypaxia partners with Redner Industries to mass produce the antidote, which Bryce and Hunt took.
Bryce begins opening up a new version of Griffin Antiquities with the help of Sasa, Riti, and Melania, the fire sprites. It'll never replace Liaba, but it's a start.
Oh, and Pegasuses are back on Avalon, and Vaxian is freaking out about what to do with it.
So we've got some looming questions.
Yeah, what's going to happen when the First Light runs out?
Can an alternative to First Light be found, or will Midgard revert into something closer to Baratheon?
Who will try to grab power in the immediate absence of the Asteri?
Can a new government be built before that happens?
And will our main characters have a happy ever after? I guess we'll have to wait for the next installment of Crescent City to find out.